The United States currently has government debt levels of around $36 trillion. That's as of this year. And they plan to spend around 6 trillion, but revenue is projected to be around 4 trillion. This is leaving a 2 trillion gap, which would push up the national debt levels to around 38 trillion. Now, the new administration has been quite controversial, at least in some areas of the media and business. Like every government, they have their critics. But they're looking to do three things, to pull three levers, as they call it, in order to address this problem, which, if it's not addressed properly in the next 10, 15, 20 years, will have major implications for the US as one of the leading economies. So the first one they're looking to do is cut expenses by about $1 trillion. Now, this has been famously put into the headlines because Elon Musk is part of the Department of Government Efficiency, and they are quite ruthlessly cutting. They're cutting out waste, but they're also eliminating a lot of spending which they see as frivolous, and of course fraud as well. The second thing they're looking to do is increase revenue by $1 to $2 trillion. Now, the most famous way they're doing that is by tariffs. Currently, the US pulls in about $50 billion in tariffs, and they're looking to increase that by, to bring it up to about 500 billion. So a lot of people have said already this is going to create retaliatory tariffs. Other countries are going to be very annoyed. China, particularly, a big, powerful country. But they're missing one point, which is that the US imports $20 trillion a year in goods, in raw materials, etc. They are the biggest customer of the world. When the world's biggest customer starts complaining about they're not happy with things, the manager has to come in and have a chat with them and find a way to keep them happy. So the US has the upper hand in this regard, and import duties also they are kind of skewed. As an example, US car manufacturers pay a 10% tariff to bring their cars into Europe. European car manufacturers pay 2.5%. There's a bit of an imbalance here. Some people have said that's unfair. So they're looking to correct that imbalance. And of course, if that works even reasonably well, that will encourage businesses in the US to keep their manufacturing there, but also it could encourage new businesses to open up shop there and to expand, creating more jobs, more tax revenue, and drawing foreign investment. They're also looking to deregulate a lot of the areas of government, streamline things, make it easier to set up a business and run a business. And then there's also the famous gold card residency. The idea of this is that if you've got $5 million and you meet certain criteria, you could pay that to the US government and you've got lifetime residency in the US. When you consider the instability in many countries around the world, that becomes quite attractive. And there are around 1 to 2 million people estimated to be eligible for this. So let's say 10%, about 100,000, take that up. That could bring in another $500 billion of revenue, not including the additional taxes they would have to pay as residents, the money they'd spend in the local economy. And then the third lever, or pillar, if you want to call it, is a tax reduction. If they achieve a budgetary surplus, they will look to reduce income tax on the lowest earners, probably up to around 150K, zero federal income tax. They would also cut corporate tax to make it more attractive for businesses to come in. Currently, that stands at around 21%. So if they reduce that to 15%, they would be significantly undercutting, say, the EU average of around 22%. Germany, including all fees, charges, everything, goes up to 30%. France is around 25%. So the bottom line of this strategy is that it aims for efficiency, reduce waste, and a leaner government, an approach that might appeal to many nations, really, that are wrestling with debt. The role of government, after all, is to create an environment where it's as easy as possible to protect your own private rights, no matter whether you're rich or poor, and to give you an opportunity to build, to grow, to thrive for you, your family, your business. Economics and politics are, of course, famously muddy. They're not clear, and leaders of clarity, vision, and background are required to engage with these sorts of policies. And we see, especially, I'm from the UK, other parts of the West, leaders aren't really interested in doing this, and they're not doing it. And while I don't know if these three levers that the Trump administration are good ideas, the best ideas, or how they're implementing them is the best way, you have to admit that it is a decisive plan, and certainly makes a lot more sense than doing nothing at all, business as usual, because the long-term implications of such government debt are going to affect the dollar. They're going to affect many other things. So I think that if you can see through the noise and cut through all the emotive reactions and opinions of the media and start looking at the policies and what they're aiming to do, it will give you a clearer picture. But I'd love to know, what do you think about these plans? Do you think they're awful? Do you think they're wonderful? Are you looking with cautious optimism? What are your thoughts? And what do they mean for you as well? I'd love to hear from you.